unfortunately, it does not stop with Ozzy Osbourne when it comes to deaths. Um, the immortal Hulk Hogan um, has unfortunately passed away. Came toe to toe with God, and God said that don't work for me, brother. Um, Terry Bollea was born in Augusta, Georgia on 1953. Um, as many people know, he started in the AWA.
AWA.
Yeah. Um, can I'm trying to get the information here, but he was trained by a Japanese legend. Um, can trying to pull up the information here, but he was trained in NWA, AWA, I should say, by a Japanese pro wrestler. That during the training, he intentionally broke Hulk Hogan's leg. Um, Hulk would heal up, come back the next day, or when his leg was healed, and essentially start his pro wrestling career. Um, he did work for World Wrestling Federation in from 79 to 81 for Vince McMahon Sr., um, which Sr. famously did not want Hogan to act in Rocky 3. Hogan denied that, and he said, "I'm going to do it anyway." He got fired. He went on to play in Rocky 3, and I think he was off to the races after that. No, Kalika?
Mm, uh, it was, well, the way it went is that, yes, he was there. He got fired for Rocky 3, but at that point, he was already a star, if that makes sense. Because keep in mind, the Hulkamania thing was not a WWE product. Unlike it didn't start in WWE, it hit its apex in WWE, but it actually began under Vern Gagne in the AWA.
It was starting to
Um,
pick up
the
steam.
Yeah, I mean, wearing the shirt, having the Hulkamania shirt, ripping it off, and all that stuff. That kind of started in AWA. He became a big draw. So when he got to that, when he was kind of finding his way in WWE, he got into Rocky 3, and Rocky 3 made him a bigger star, if that makes sense. So him 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 being big, going to AWA, or him being big in AWA, going to WWE, kind of buzzing, and then getting fired and going in the Rocky 3, they had no choice but to get him back because that was around 82. And then the actual whole crux of his era started in 84. Uh, right around actually when I was born, to be quite honest. So about roughly about 40 years ago. Uh, so yeah, so that's how it kind of went around. It went about. Um, just putting it in context. So he basically bet on himself and did it, and then Vince Jr. was like, "No, we got to get this guy," and they plucked him because the whole point of when he came back, they made him cancel all the AWA shows, or he couldn't fulfill his contract for the AWA shows because he was selling out arenas in AWA.
Do you think it's crazy that, in his first time training, his trainer Matsuda, I believe it was,
Hiro
broke,
Matsuda.
yeah, Matsuda, broke his leg, and for anybody, you know, that's a casual wrestling fan, trying to get into pro wrestling, I would imagine that would very much discourage them. and we would have never had, a Hulk Hogan. But just for him to kind of say, well, he broke my leg, but I'm going back and I'm going to see this through. It does definitely shows you the kind of person he was, well, at least back then, you know, trying to become somebody. You know what I mean?
Well, he went from being a bass player to saying he wanted to be the greatest wrestler of all time. So he had no choice but to see that through.
And he succeeded. And on January 20, I just lost it. Fuck. January 23rd, 1984. He would go on to defeat the Iron Sheik to capture his first WWE Championship. Um, Essentially making Hulkamania mainstream, making the WWE, I don't want to say global, but at least, you know, it made it WWE the big dog when it came to pro wrestling. Um,
Um, I would say
national.
it made WWE national. It made him global.
I mean, he was kind of already global because prior to coming to WWE, back to WWE in in '84, he did work New Japan. Um, he he wrestled, I believe, Andre a couple times, and even Anoki. So, I mean, he was known internationally prior.
Yeah, he was known, but there's a different stratosphere. Uh, from 84 to on up, I mean, he basically like Michael, and now not just like as far as recognizable in popularity, he was up there with like Michael Jackson, Prince, like icons where like he can't walk in. He could be in Djibouti, Africa, and somebody would know who Hulk Hogan is.
You're not wrong. That would him beating the on Sheik would be the catalyst for him um, for WWF at the time, um, to do the Rock and Wrestling Connection. Obviously, girls just want to have fun with Cyndi Lauper. Roddy Piper being Roddy Piper, and setting off the first ever WrestleMania. And it's kind of crazy just to think that out of everybody in that main event, Mr. T is the only one alive. It's kind of sad if you think about it.
I mean, 40 years ago, yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody's gone in that match except, as a matter of fact, up until what, the first 4 or 5 WrestleManias? I mean, up to WrestleMania 6, it was only Hulk Hogan, DiBiase, as far as main events, Hulk Hogan and DiBiase.
No, there's a Savage and DiBiase at 4.
No, I'm just saying, as far as alive,
Yeah.
as far as like the wrestlers alive. So that's what I'm saying. The only people that were still alive that main evented the first 6 was Hogan and DiBiase. Now it's just DiBiase, Mr. T. Hogan, DiBiase, Mr. T. So now it's Mr. T and DiBiase.
Right. Um, he would go on to WrestleMania, which was obviously the catalyst that made WWE, WWF, the global phenomenon that they became. It was a roll of the dice, and it was because of Hulk Hogan that it was
Because of Hulkamania, they had named it WrestleMania.
it was no, it was actually because of Beatlemania. Vince McMahon wanted to call it Colossal Tussle, And then
Mm.
Howard Finkel said, well, when the Beatles came to America, it was dubbed Beatlemania, so let's call it WrestleMania. So,
WrestleMania.
yeah, Howard Finkel, the made WrestleMania. Um, I think we could kind of jump over WrestleMania 2, go to WrestleMania 3, 93,000 in the Pontiac Silverdome. 9 matches on the card, but the only one that people, came to see, bought a ticket to. Reason why they broke the attendance record at the time was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. One could say masterful storytelling at the time, um, which ended in the body slam hard around the world. Afterwards, and he would retain the title as well and he would hold that title until well into the next year, where he would have a rematch with Andre the Giant on Saturday night's main event. Um,
Which threw 33 million viewers in 85 or 88. Oh, yeah, 88.
and I believe that was
Yeah, 88.
a record at the time as well.
Yeah, they were outdrawn the Super Bowl. Just keep that in
Right.
perspective.
He would he would lose the title on that very show to Andre the Giant when Ted DiBiase, and I'm not making this up, paid a referee to have paid a person to have plastic surgery to look like the referee to screw over Hulk Hogan so he could get the championship. Nothing has been done like that before. The referee in question was Al Hebner, who took the place of Dave Hebner, which was actually his biological twin brother. So it kind of sort of worked anyway. Dave would retire, and Al would obviously go on to be Al Hebner. Hulk Hogan would not hold the WWE Championship until the next year, WrestleMania 5, when he competed against Randy Savage. Randy Savage at WrestleMania 4 won the championship in a very convoluted tournament. First time Hulk Hogan was not the main event of WrestleMania. They did form the Mega Powers, and then sometime during their tag team, Hulk Hogan, he had lost in his eyes for Miss Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, obviously Hulk Hogan was the babyface in the. It was presented as the babyface, but a lot of people were kind of siding with Savage, and I get it. And it's just masterful storytelling where a year, more or less a year, story that just kind of exploded. And
Mm-hmm.
um, afterwards, I believe we're up to almost, yeah, I think this is the next thing on the agenda. Hulk Hogan would want to get into movies business, Hollywood, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, they were calling him Mr. Nanny, what, Trouble in Paradise? Or it's Thunder in Paradise. Thunder in Paradise, No Holds Barred. He's had, like, they were giving him the chances, but keep in mind, it would have came had he not did Rocky 3.
Right. And it all kind of No Holds Barred was the catalyst of that. Um, Vince McMahon wrote the script, so you know that it was great shit. Uh, it's probably one of the worst movies of all time. But there are still a couple of good lines in it. Um, which did prompt a paid preview called No Holds Barred, the match, the movie. Uh, I
With
believe
Tiny Lester.
Zeus versus Hogan in a solid steel cage match.
I
Um,
mean, they fed him so many people they had to go get another person. They literally had to hire an actor to be like, "Hey, bro, you want to come wrestle Hulk Hogan real quick? Get this bread."
uh, actors notwithstanding, Hogan would go on to WrestleMania 7 to wrestle Swords and Slaughter. Um,
Oh, six.
I,
How about
I forgot about 6, yeah. It's
Ultimate War?
he dropped it to Warrior, and it did seem like WWE was going with Warrior. Despite Warrior being over, it was never as over as Hulk Hogan. And I would you say Ultimate Warrior was more problematic than Hulk Hogan?
In a sense, because to his core, Hulk Hogan was a company man. Keep in mind, he did snitch on Jesse Ventura when they were trying to unionize.
I mean, true, but when I'm kind of if Hulk Hogan was hard to deal with, well, he had the backing to be hard to deal with because he's put asses in seats.
Well, he was the guy. So they used to do tours. Remember, they were doing A tours and B tours. So if Hogan wasn't on the house show, it wasn't going to sell.
Right. And I mean, they tried.
That's how big Hogan was. I mean, he was a like I said, he was the first. And when you're the first, dude, he is wrestling. Like there is no wrestling. I mean, no. Let me put it this way: wrestling would still be here, but it would not be as uh, casually watched as if it wasn't for Hogan.
100%. I dare to say we wouldn't be here right now talking about pro wrestling if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan and his contributions to pro wrestling. Um, it was the first time Hulk Hogan was out of the title picture, but he had a feud with Ortquick, um, kind of
Couple of
sidetracked.
TV shows.
Yeah, while Ultimate Warrior was doing his thing. But he would bounce back at WrestleMania 7, the very controversial Swords and Slaughter rivalry. Um, yeah, maybe not a fun time to be Swords and Slaughter at that time, but Hulk Hogan obviously got the nod, took the belt back, and he'd hold it until Survivor Series of 91. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, where the Undertaker would defeat Hulk Hogan. Obviously Survivor Series would have been established for maybe 3, 4 years at this point. Um, but what wasn't established was having a paid preview literally a week later at this Tuesday in Texas. There hasn't been a this Tuesday in Texas since. Where Hulk Hogan would retain the title. Depending on who you ask, it was a pretty controversial time. Hogan, I believe, accused Undertaker of hoarding him or not being a safe worker. Fortunately, Undertaker bounced back from that. Then this is kind of where things kind of get wonky and weird. He would drop the title at Royal Rumble 92 to Ric Flair, even though he was champion. Well, this Tuesday in Texas, made controversy, yada yada. He would main
Right.
event WrestleMania 8 against Sid Justice. The first time the title wasn't in the main event. Um, just again a wonky time. He would maybe take some time off, um, and he wouldn't come back until '93,
93, WrestleMania 9.
where he teamed with his best friend Brutus the Beefcake. Um, in one of the most forgettable, controversial tag team matches of all time, which led to him going into the main event of WrestleMania 9, taking the title off of Yokozuna and
Yokozuna, who just beat Bret Hart. Yeah, it was a time.
one of the most controversial endings of WrestleMania as well.
Of course.
The I mean, even going into that WrestleMania, okay, so Brutus breaks his face in a skiing accident. Whether you want to
Yes.
believe that or not, great, great, good for you, bad for you, who cares? His face was broken. He was okay afterwards. Obviously needed money to pay medical bills. Hogan came to get him a payday, brother. Then Hulk Hogan, supposedly, depending on who you ask, if you ask him, he was in a skiing accident where he got a black eye. And that's kind of where you're like, how how dangerous is skiing, and how unlucky are these sons of bitches? You know what I mean?
Like he just saw his friend got damn near die from a boating accident. It's like, yeah, let me try this.
if you
Let me ride this out.
if you believe rumor and innuendo, he some people believe that he had an argument with Randy Savage a couple nights prior, and Randy Savage punched him. That hasn't necessarily been confirmed, but I want to say if Randy Savage was going to punch Hulk Hogan, he wouldn't keep it a secret. I think he would have said, "I punched you in the face" before a WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of rumors in wrestling. We should have do a top 10 on top 10 rumors that are not confirmed. Because there's a lot of them.
You know, that actually might be a really good top 10 for the future.
Because I'm trying to think, I'm like, because I remember there was a rumor about, well, let's sidebar. There was a rumor about Macho Man flowering Stephanie. There's a lot of goddamn rumors right
Yeah.
around it.
I've even heard it taken a step further where he actually got Stephanie McMahon pregnant. Whether that's anybody believes that or not, I don't know, but that rumor's out there. Um, he would actually do a stint. Well, actually, he would go on to hold the championship um, until March, I believe. At the King of the and would drop June, I should say.
June. It was June. He dropped it at the King of the Ring because the rumor in that is that Brett was supposed to get the belt back from Hogan, and the rumor the rumor is that Brett lost to Yoko in order for Hogan to get the belt and for Hogan to drop the title to Brett because Brett was seen as the next guy. And the rumor is that Hogan said, I know Yob, loses it to Yoko. And that's where when Yoko had the belt, they had to experiment with Lex and Brett to see who liked who more.
I think this is the first. Maybe it was the first time we heard of maybe Hulk Hogan flexing. I mean, obviously he had an ego before this.
Oh no,
And
I think he flexed way more than that because I thought, I mean, in 40-year-old me is like Macho Man was right, and he should have won that match, right? So Hogan was out of pocket, and Macho Man should have won that match. 40-year-old me thinking that, but I mean, keep in mind we're talking about Hogan. Let's see, he was involved in the first 9 WrestleManias
yeah,
in some way, shape, or form.
but what I mean by flexing is while yes, a lot of people will maybe pulling for Randy Savage. I don't think Hulk Hogan had to say, I should win this match. I think because Vince McMahon was very much all in love with Hulk Hogan and believe. I mean, literally the catchphrase is Hogan must pose, and Hogan must pose. That means that's there's no room for Randy must pose, um, Warrior must pose.
Warrior must pose.
It's
Hakeem must pose. Earthquake must pose.
it,
Typhoon must pose. Big Boss Man must pose. DiBiase must pose. Andre must pose. Did I lose any? Orndorff must pose. King Kong Bundy must pose.
yeah.
Cowboy Bob Orton must pose. I'm just going through the
Roddy must pose.
Piper must pose. Like, um,
But
he went through some cats.
but you get my point where he didn't necessarily have to flex because Vince was going to go with him anyway. In the
Well, because
night.
the crowd came to see him win. He was. It's funny because my kid. Sidebar. Sorry to interrupt, but it's funny because my kid was like, he got a Hulk Hogan autograph figure from a person at WrestleMania 39. My kid was like, "Who the heck is Hulk Hogan?" And I was like, "He was the John Cena of his time. Think John Cena on steroids." And he was like, "Oh, okay." so, 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 so I get that's how crazy Hogan was. Like
And quite literally, John Cena
people
on
didn't buy those
steroids.
tickets to see Hogan lose. Yeah, he was John Cena on steroids. Like
Hmm.
it was his record run in the '80s was banana,
But I mean, think of it.
banana.
But think of it this way. His 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 record was insane. He has a loss to Lenny Pavo. That's not like you know no, he took a loss to Lenny Pavo. So I mean, at that time, didn't have that much of an ego. Where Vince would say, "Take a drop to Lenny," even though it wasn't a pinfall loss.
No, I beg to
But
differ. I think
in '93, and people are starting to come up on him, and in '93 we could vote and say that Hulk Hogan looked significantly different than he did in '84. So
I mean, but '93 people were kind of like, I mean, '93 it was starting. They wanted more. It was new blood. They needed new blood.
and he still wanted paydays, and he was driven by
And
them.
he still want that money. Hey, Mr. Nanny, bro. Like, yes.
So
Get,
I mean, he would
holy shit.
hold the championship against Yokozuna, dropping it to him. Depending on who you asked, he only won the championship because they were doing a UK tour, a UK farewell tour of Hulk Hogan, and that's why it was a little added extra. Even though the tour that he was on, he did not actually have the title. So you figure that one out. But
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, he had a 3-year run. He was undefeated. So let's just.
Hmm?
Man, I'm looking up the record. That dude, oh my god.
Well,
This,
it's funny to think that his last WWE appearance was him getting stretchered out after losing to Yokozuna in '93, and we wouldn't see
because of the
him.
camera.
Yeah,
The
and
camera.
we wouldn't see him back in the WWE ring until 2002. So 9 years later. Crazy to
But
think.
he reinvented himself, and man, I'm telling you, he basically was responsible for the two biggest wrestling arcs in wrestling history that are memorable by the general consensus people.
Hmm.
This dude teamed with Mr. T and Dennis Rodman. It's just
um, Weirdly enough, he did us after leaving WWE or during that time. Yeah, around the same time, he would actually do a small stint in New Japan as well. He wrestled Great Muta at Wrestling Dantaku, and he even teamed with Masahiro Chono. So, still getting those good Japan checks, brother. Um, then, obviously controversy, preceded the steroid trial. He would go against Vince McMahon for the first time and go against him in the court. But yeah, that was pretty controversial at the time as well. He
I know, jail brother.
no jail. It definitely damaged their relationship, and I think that their relationship was pretty strained at this time at anyway. So it's just kind of coming full head way. Um,
Right.
which preceded him to go get that good WCW money. Um, 95 headed to WCW while he was filming Thunder in Paradise. For anybody that remembers that, um, it didn't. He would go on to continue being the Hulk Hogan that we know, which didn't work for the crowd, brother. He started getting booed. Um, not necessarily wanting the the red and yellow, which proceeded to Bass at the Beast '96, where he would famously turn heel and join Scott Hall and Kevin Nash as the NWO, um, reigniting his popularity. Um, some people disliked him, but the consensus was that he was cool again and that people wanted to see him again.
Well, because this was a side of Hogan that at the time to most people seemed more natural to him. Um, I mean, I still remember 12-year-old me watching that was like, what? Well, because that was the first, like, I've been to wrestling shows where, like, house shows where they throw garbage. No, they were throwing, like, it felt like every show they went to, they were throwing garbage. And then all of a sudden it became super cool. And everybody named Mama wanted to, like, you know, join the NWO, which felt like the Wu-Tang Clan because everybody was a member at that point.
Well, I mean, I was never really a WCW guy to begin with. And I do.
Hell, it was gone by the time you were born. Like, it was on the
It
decline by
was.
the time you were born.
It was.
WCW was on the decline, was it? But, so that's why I'm like,
But I mean,
I,
even
I,
going.
I get your point.
I could go back and watch WWE Raw from like '95 and '96. Even when it was the drizzling shits, and still, find some enjoyment of it. but WCW for whatever reason never resonated with me. And
See, you had to have grown with WCW because WCW in the South was just more they the stories were simpler and more digestible, right? It didn't come because the stories in WCW was just straight up, you my friend, you betrayed me, we go into fisticuffs, right? You had a couple of stories where it's like who's the best and who's the baddest, but other than that, that was pretty much the crux of WCW. I mean, keep in mind they rotated people in and out the four horsemen like it was a pair of shoes.
right, and that's the thing that I didn't like about WCW. It became too convoluted. It was there was too many masters to serve, and at the end of the day, they rather put over former WWE superstars than try and foster and grow the new generation.
Well,
So
that was honestly that happened when the NWO came
right,
because from the 80s to the 90s, from like from its inception up until like mid 90s, they were trying to push people, which is, I mean, you wouldn't have Sting or Luger without it because Flair was putting them over. Flair basically put Ricky Steamboat over the hump as the guy in WCW. Ron Simmons got a turn. Vader got a turn. Um, so they had people. It was just that the people were not larger than life characters like the WWF,
okay,
if that makes sense. Because the WWF made the characters seem so out of pocket and so, I mean, you see what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, but
So, like, people remember Ricky Steamboat and WWF, but they don't remember Ricky Steamboat, former WCW champion. Like, like that's the point I'm making, right? Like, they'll remember the Lex Express, but they don't remember Luger 80, 89, 90 WCW champion. They
right.
remember, like, Vader's WCW run is more memorable than his WWF run.
Uh, I mean that's debatable, but
Yeah,
that's a debate for
debatable. That dude was a That dude was a menace in WCW. A fucking menace.
we're getting off track a bit. Let's
We're
get
getting out of topic,
yeah.
but but I get your point. But back to Hogan. Yeah, he was the genesis of making it cool again. But also with him being the genesis of making it cool again, it gave him that creative control because the NWO was at that time was like the hottest thing ever. You got a three-time NBA champion wanting to join the NWO. Yeah, it's
I think that that
just
don't work for me brother originated in WCW if I'm not mistaken. That
I would
that
not put it past you. Actually, it did. It did because I mean, Savage, Piper. Because you remember he was. I mean, you were born. I mean, yeah, you weren't even there at the time. But
I was born, I
during
just
that
wasn't
time,
aware.
you wasn't aware. That's what I'm saying. So his main event runs there then was essentially WWE guys
Yeah,
like Piper and Savage and Luger. You had maybe like one DDP.
even fucking Ultimate Warrior came back.
Yeah, Warrior. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it was. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't like he was. It wasn't like he was out there stomping on cruise. I mean, he did stomp on cruiserweights, but it wasn't like they were in the main event. If that
Something
makes sense.
absolutely
Like his.
torpedoed Rey Mysterio. Literally
Yeah, but
murdered Rey
I'm saying,
Mysterio.
but what I'm saying, like, not burying him in the ring, you know, because he was going against WCW and Piper. Flair, Hogan. I mean, Piper, Flair, Savage, Warrior,
I mean, we could make the
uh,
argument that Sting at the time.
Typhoon, Kevin Sullivan. Not until Sting and Goldberg, you know what I'm saying, was like the newer guys, but or original WCW guys.
I mean, I could make the argument that they completely ruined and botched Sting's moment at Starcade '97.
Oh yeah, that whole match was a shit show.
Yeah. Um, they botched Goldberg. Obviously, I mean, obviously it was at the Georgia Dome. It was a big event, but that should have been on paid preview and not, a basic, you know, a random episode of not Dynamite, Nitro. Um, but I digress. It was just one mistake after another, and I can't hope that Hulk Hogan was partly responsible for why things didn't necessarily come together that the way that they could have. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
should we mention the finger poke of doom, which was a lot of people believe is the death of was the catalyst of the death of WCW. Um, WW
See, I'm looking at his WCW record, and if you look at his matches, he's not fighting like it ain't like he's fighting Jericho because during that time the hot division was the cruiserweight. Hogan was over everybody, but there was really no one person that could come and slay Hogan, and they were trying to save Sting for that moment. But if you look at this, like prime example, '96, Hogan beats Flair. Hogan and Savage beats Anderson and Flair. Hogan beats me. Hogan beats One Man Gang. Flair and the Giant beats Hogan and Savage. Flair beats Hogan. Hogan beats the Giant. I mean, the only new person they had was like the Giant. Arn Anderson beats Hogan. Arn Anderson. So he's fighting these older guys from the 80s. It wasn't like, okay, Diamond Dallas Page is coming up and it's his year. And they were like, no, it doesn't work for me. If that makes sense.
But what?
Like 98, I can make your argument because Buff Bagwell, I think, should have been a guy.
And just a quick side
Brian Adams, aka Adam Bomb. But everybody else, yeah, Luger and Sting and Hogan and yeah, he was basic, and then Brett comes in, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And a quick
so
shout
I mean,
out to Buff Bagwell, dealing with major, health issues right now. Hopefully he can get back past those and get back to being healthy again as well.
right. See, so I mean, it ain't like he was. I mean, the only thing I think of is what Uncensored '97, Chris Benoit, Jeff Jarrett, Piper, McMichael, Luger, Steiner, and the Giant. Like that could have been one because his schedule was hella light to
Yeah.
be considered. He was on TV a lot, but his wrestling schedule is like how many matches he had from '96 to '99 was hella light.
It was.
Hella light.
Um.
And like right now, March Nitro '99, Hogan beats Page. I could make the argument Page should have went over, but everybody else he's been fighting, if you look through his roster in WCW, it was basically dudes from the '80s, and '90s. It wasn't like he was burying talent. It was just he was just staving off the people that should have got more shine,
But
which
I mean, look.
is still fucked up, but you know.
But who was the undercard and all those people? Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, Scott Steiner, Rick Steiner, Diamond Dallas.
Well, Scott Steiner was in the tag. Diamond Dallas Page. got his comeuppance in the 2000s, which is the tail end, which is after all that NWO shit was over. But
Right. I mean, the
it was
only
hard. I would say this. I get your point, but I don't think you understand. And I get it because you were younger. The NWO was a 5-year eclipse in WCW, bro. A 5-year eclipse. It got to the point where there were so many members in NWO.
I know.
They might as well change the promotion to NWO.
I
You see what
know
I'm saying?
that you.
So it was.
I know they're on Cage Match right now. Just click NWO members and tell me like how many actual members were part of the NWO, because I know
Bro,
that it's hilariously long.
I
But
mean, it had to be. No, it felt like 100 members. It
let's
felt like all of WCW was in the NWO.
Vince Russo would come into WCW, and he would make Jeff Jarrett lay down for Hulk Hogan, which
Oh, let me.
Hogan would oblige
You
to
asked
do.
79. Sorry to interrupt. 79 members.
79 members then. Um,
There were 79.
would you say uh, would you say that the NWO was more successful than controversial when it comes to their time in WCW?
It was successful in the sense that here's the problem with it. You got to look at it as a totality. Both things can be true. They were successful in the sense that it had those people who grew up watching Hogan, and let's say if you're a teenager and you loved Hogan and now you're in college and you're looking at this new Hogan, it's got you back in, right?
Right.
Even same for me. What, I was 5-year-old Hogan Warrior guys, those dudes were, and when you see that, it made you change your outlook on things. Like, it made you want to draw in again. So it was successful in the sense that it took away that lame say your vitamins, eat your prayer shtick from him, and made him it showed a side of him that we would have never otherwise seen. It was controversial in the sense of how they booked NWO. Because if they had kept it to maybe, I'm looking at the members now.
I'll be
And
nice
let's say you got
members.
You got Nash, Hall, Hogan. You could have made in 6. Nash, Hall, Hogan, 6, Bischoff, and that's about in Rodman. But Dusty Rhodes had no goddamn reason being in the NWO. Do you see what I'm saying?
One more
Like,
payday, baby.
the Disco Inferno was in the NWO.
Fuck, really? Yeah, the more
Yes.
So
this is the point I'm making. Like, it got to a point where there were members in there that had no goddamn business being. Like, I could see Ted DiBiase being in it, but with Ted DiBiase, you got Vincent. And Macho Man was in it, but with Macho Man, you get Elizabeth. Hell, Luger, you got Elizabeth. The NWO Sting made sense because they were trying to frame Sting, so I got that point. Nick Patrick, why the hell is a referee in the NWO?
Because they needed somebody in their pocket.
And then you had Conan and Hennig and Rude and Brian Adams, Scott Steiner, The Disciple, which was, I think, was Bruises to beat Barbara Beefcake, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe.
Wasn't he Brutal Brudon?
Stevie Ray. Booker T was in. But this was the back in the
That
day.
was the
But I'm just saying,
WWE
but
version. Was Booker T.
that was the WWE version. But Scott Norton, Bubba Rogers, Mike Wall Street, Buff Bagwell,
Bubba the Love
Nick
Sponge.
Patrick,
Yep. You know, it's.
Giant, the Big Show, like
I agree with
that Giant
you.
was in it.
I agree with you on the point of, both things can be true. WCW would not be successful without the NWO, but at some point it became detrimental to to WCW. It had to end at
Correct.
some point, but it was the only
And
thing.
it didn't end. It just broke apart, and it made that was the other part. It didn't end. It just split into three different groups because you had NWO Red, NWO Black, and then LWO.
And there was a NWO Silver at one point.
Yeah, it was just bananas.
So, I mean, it obviously it was innovative. It was a very important part of time. I mean, you had Jay Leno on wrestling at Hog Wild. Like you said, um, the basketball player that teamed with Hulk Hogan,
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman.
He made the most sense. If there was anybody that made the most
Oh
sense for
yeah.
NWO, it was him.
So I mean, it was a good time to be a pro wrestling fan at that time. You know, obviously the repercussions for it was substantial. Um, 2000, 2001, which, obviously 2001 WCW closed their doors, which did prompt Hulk Hogan to come back in 2002 at No Way Out as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. It's worth nothing that No Way Out, um, the initial spell no NWO, but good little storytelling there. Um, it did proceed to make a match between The Rock and Hulk Hogan, Icon versus Icon, the old guard versus the new guard. And one of the most famous and iconic matches of all time at the Sky Dome in Canada. Um, I would make the argument that it should have been Stone Cold, but was he really?
Well, Stone Cold didn't. He chose not to do it. He was offered the match. He decided not to do it and decided that he felt that Scott Hall was a better match chemistry wise and story wise.
I think it was an
So
ego
that's how
thing.
I ended up with The Rock.
I don't think people. I have to explain this, or that people wouldn't believe me when I say this. Stone Cold was 1A in WWE. Uh, was The Rock a big part of WWE? Was he incredibly famous? Did he make a lot of money for the company? 100%. But The Rock was never 1A. Stone Cold was always 1A.
Well,
And
Stone Cold was one. No, it was. I would say it wasn't even a 1A 1B. It was like 1A and 1AA because I'm gonna let you know right now. You may have not thought that, but to the majority of people who are casuals, he's up there, bro.
I mean,
There are people who say I stopped watching wrestling when The Rock left. Not when Austin left, when The Rock left. That's how much pull he had.
you do realize that The Rock left 1 month after Stone Cold left, right?
But I'm just saying in general, I'm just saying not like that literal. I'm just talking about like people stopped watching when they could no longer visually see The Rock on TV. No matter when he left.
Well, I again, as much as he's a big star, I don't think Stone Cold wanted to yab to Hogan, and I don't think Hogan wanted to yab to Stone Cold. Um, for whatever reason, but it's still one of the, like I said, most iconic matches. I mean, so much so that The Rock, who was the babyface in the match, the people turned on him, and they were very much pro Hulk Hogan, and they wanted Hulk Hogan. They cheered Hulk Hogan over The Rock. So it kind of just tells you, you know, where the crowd was. So much so that they actually turned Hogan face the next night on Raw, which was the longest standing ovation of all time, like 6-7 minutes. Like it went into the commercial break for how long it went. But he did don the the yellow and red once again, and literally 1 month later, he would win the undisputed WWE Championship from Triple H. So I mean, still very much over. Even I'm pretty sure he's well into his fifties. He's in his 50s at this point. No,
Huh, I thought he beat Taker for the title, but
no, it was he Taker beat him for the title at Judgment Day. I believe the month after.
mm, I want to say, I mean, could be right, but I mean, for him to be that, come back and then just get the title like right after, it's bananas.
Yeah. Um, he would go on to he would wrestle Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, um, the Un-Americans, Bill Edge and Billy and Chuck. I mean, he won tag team championships with Edge, which sounds like just a very random fact, but it did indeed happen. Um, Kind of seems like Hulk Hogan is just all over WWE, and I think he maybe had more matches in this 2002 run than he did his whole WCW run. I digress. Um, he would go on to wrestle Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 19. I don't think a lot of people actually talk about this match, but I would say that this wasn't a bad match. It was actually a pretty good match, if you remember it, Kaliko.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. I mean, Vince played the part.
Hulk Hogan would take a step back from WWE. There would be this guy named Mr. America that would show up, do some shit. I think he's related to El Grande Americano. You tell me. I don't know. Um, but yeah, shortly after he would leave, he would make a return to New Japan in 2003. He wrestled Masahiro Chono at the Tokyo Dome. Um, that was famously the time when he said that he would consider going to TNA, and Jeff Jarrett hit him in the head with the guitar, saying, we don't want you, yada yada. He would then go back to WWE in 2005, get into the WWE Hall of Fame, obviously very much warranted for him. He would feud with, he would make a, he would make an appearance at WrestleMania 21 where he beat up Mohammed Hassan. He would team with Shawn Michaels the next month at Backlash. And then the very next night on Raw, he would make an appearance where Shawn Michaels would super kick him, prompting a SummerSlam match, which is still very controversial today. Um, rumor and innuendo believes that it was supposed to be a trilogy of matches. Hogan going over in the first, Michaels in the second. I don't remember who they said would win the third, but obviously, clearly it would have been Hogan. Um, Issues between the Heartbreak Kid and Hogan only made it a one-time match. I think that him doing the Larry King Live segment, Shawn Michaels, um, kind of went up Hogan's ass the wrong way. Um, but yeah, the match was interesting. It could have been a little bit better. It was a very melodramatic on Shawn Michaels' part. It's just kind of fun to see that rebellious '97 Shawn Michaels is still in Shawn Michaels in 2005. You know what I mean?
Right. I
Um,
mean, that was a wild time. I mean, then again, Sean, it was the politics, bro.
hmm And I mean, I get where, where Shawn Michaels was coming from. You left, I stayed loyal, and then I'm jobbing to you. I mean, anybody would really have that, reaction in my eyes.
I mean, sounds like Brett and Sean as a common enemy, even though they hated each other.
um, he would then, weirdly enough, he would have a match with Randy Orton in 2008 SummerSlam. Um, he would wrestle Jerry Lawler in Memphis Wrestling in 2007, I believe. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let the Battle Begin in 2009, and then Total Nonstop Action TNA in 2009. He came in as, I believe, talent, but it doesn't stop with talent with Hulk Hogan. He has to be, more creative control brother. I can kind of
That is
understand
true.
why,
That's true.
Vince Russo was there at the time as well. And going back to, he made, Jeff Jarrett lay down for him, didn't trust the guy. Completely understand. But he brought Bubba the fucking Love Sponge with him, so
I mean, yeah, but then again, keep in mind, TNA does not get a national TV deal without.
yeah. Um, at some, like, I mean, like in a couple of weeks, being in Impact, he would wrestle a tag team match between him and Abyss, I believe, wrestled AJ Styles and Ric Flair. That's an actual thing that happened. Um, he would go on to make the Immortal faction, which was a heel rehashing of the NWO that once again had too many members and squashed, younger talent and, good Hulk Hogan shit. Um, it would eventually just die out and he would eventually just kind of go away. Like, I don't think he ever had a proper exiting with TNA. He just kind of,
TNA.
yeah. I believe at the Bound for Glory 2013, the San Diego one, um, people were expecting him to make a comeback, and he just wrote online, "I'm at the beach," and that was that was kind of his formal. I I don't give a fuck about this anymore. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
He would make some random appearances in WWE, most notably WrestleMania 30, where he got the Superdome and the Silver Dome confused. Segment
My
with,
first WrestleMania.
yeah, segment with The Rock and Stone Cold. Um, the next year he would um, help Sting with with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall to take on D-Generation X. Um,
Second WrestleMania.
I think that was his last physical appearance in WWE. Um, Very offbeat but interesting and colorful and fun for the time.
hmm
They would do a Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair team in Saudi Arabia. Um, that happened.
Yeah, that happened.
um, and then, um, I mean, he would make random appearances here and there, yada yada. And then, um, we bring he comes to his very last WWE appearance. Um, Raw debut on Netflix. Um, for whatever reason, whatever you know, he gave you a lot of reasons to dislike him at the time. He got booed out of the fucking building. Um, it's kind of weird because I was at that Raw, so I did see Hulk Hogan's very last wrestling appearance, which is crazy to say. Um, I get it, but I would I would have liked to seen him get at least one last cheer rather than a boo. You know what I mean?
While I understand that sentiment, there were a lot that was omitted in his story, which which I which is crazy because and this is where me personally I have to come into this because it's like,
We could talk about it. I mean, it's a part of his history.
well, it's part of it, and the whole Gawker tape and him not being admitted racist and all that stuff, and the tapes and the tapes, and then it didn't help that he took the Republican side stance, which he has every right to do so, and people have every right to oppose it. Um, this is where I think it's one of those things where we're such in a and this is where it's not really good, a binary zero sum thing, right? When I was in the military, they used to say, man, it takes you 20 years to build a reputation, but it could take 30 seconds to ruin it, right? um, and that is a part of his story. The issue that I have with most people, because here's my thing. um, there are some people who could care less, and I'm not here to convince people who say they could care less. There are the people who just love him and don't want to remember all the bad stuff. I'm not here to convince you as well. My biggest issue is that this what I said about at the beginning. Both things can exist and be true at the same time. All of us are humans, all of us are flawed. Edgar Allan Poe, great poet, married his cousin at 16. No, no one brings that. I'm dead serious. Married his cousin at 16. No one brings that up. They just bring that he's a great poet, right? Um, Elvis has his issues slash underage, whatever the case may be. My thing is this: is that you can both things can be true, and it just let it be part of the whole story. You can pick whether you want to love him or hate him, um, but you cannot just say yeah, all because of this, none of this shit matters. None of the shit that he contributed matters.
Right.
Because if that's the case, then the wrestlers would not be getting paid what they get paid today. They would not be even be able to do what they are doing today as a full time job. And that's because of Hulk Hogan. Both, I take it, me personally, I take it as an approach of, because there are people who are like moonwalking on his grave, and I'm like, bro, like, come on. Like, the dude just died. I don't wish death on the guy.
Right.
However, I mean, I don't wish, I'm not tap dancing on his grave. And I'm not like going, I'm not breaking my heart out for it because I understand it from the Terry Bollea, the man, because he played the ideal. Hulk Hogan was the ideal of what America should be.
Right.
And it was played by a man who was rather flawed in that ideal. But that doesn't make the ideal less important than the man, right? The idea should be bigger than the man that's playing the ideal. The message should be bigger than the person who is portraying the message, right?
Right.
And I think everyone kind of gets hooked on the fact that he portrayed the message, that he is a flawed person, which is true, which is merited. All of it's merited, and that's where I try to tell, because it's like when I try to break this down, people think you're a Hogan. Something I was like, no, he merited, his actions merited the response that you gave him, right?
Right.
And you have every right to be indifferent. And there are people who may have never experienced that side. There are people who see him as a dear friend, and those people, you cannot just tell those people to F it because of the fact of what happened, right?
Right.
Because, and that is where it kind of, that's where I stand on it. Like, it's, yes, this guy is, without him, there's no wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he's fucked up as a flawed human being. Let that be the story, and that's just part of the chapter. You can't, both sides can't pick oh, okay, well, I'm just going to remember the contributions and overlook this racist shit, and the other people can't just go fuck him contributing to the positivity of wrestling because of this racist shit. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
we play this zero sum game when it's just really both. And it's not that complicated. People think it's complicated. It's not complicated. He was a fucked up human being who actually did some good for the world. All our heroes have had that. Marvin Gaye, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. So I could go. The list goes on. It. Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson hated black people, but yet he passed the Civil Rights Act. I'm just telling you, like the, the, these are things. I'm dead. No, that's a real thing. He despised black people. When he became president after Kennedy died, one of the biggest things of his agenda was getting that bill passed.
Okay.
I'm dead.
That's your history lesson for the day, kids.
There's your history lesson for the day. But my point is that we all have, everyone thinks that they're inherently good and they're inherently evil, when in actuality, there's good and evil in all of this.
Right. And obviously we're trying to pay respects to Hulk Hogan. The man just died like a couple of days ago. I can't sit here and tell you that I'm a massive Hulk Hogan fan, that I loved his matches, that I loved the wrestler or the human being, because I didn't. I didn't necessarily like Hulk Hogan as a pro wrestler. Um, I didn't really care about his ventures outside of pro wrestling. That's just me. When he did make a comeback to WWE, I was in. I don't want to say indifferent, but it could have gone. It could have stayed. It could have left. It didn't really matter to me. But it's not over my head that pro wrestling would not be pro wrestling without Hulk Hogan, and we make the discussion and the argument who is the greatest tag team of all time. Well, the greatest tag team of all time is Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, because without them, pro wrestling would not be where it is today without the two of them. Not one, not Hulk Hogan, not Vince McMahon alone, but together they were a mega power that makes us see WWE television on Netflix, which is produced in 80 different countries. That's outstanding compared to at that time just trying to get on a local market in Hoboken was a struggle. So, and it was because of Hulk Hogan's contributions to the sport. Um, are both men incredibly flawed? Without a doubt. I'm not going to defend them, either of them. But like you said, you could take the good with the bad. He was an important part of pro wrestling history, and you can't really have pro wrestling history without Hulk Hogan. Um,
Right.
and you know, like I said, flawed human being was not the best to his family. It's just how it is. I could maybe make the argument that other wrestlers, other human beings have done worse, without the backlash, as much backlash. But that's a debate for another time.
Well,
I
the reason he gets that backlash is because, once again, he is the Michael Jackson of wrestling,
Right,
the most popular wrestler in wrestling. He was the biggest. He is the biggest name. I mean, you can't. The first thing wrestler when people think of when you say it is Hulk Hogan,
right. So
because that's how recognizable he is. So that's the biggest. That's the caveat. The biggest person holds that biggest responsibility. And did he carry it with grace? Some places, yes. Some places he fell short. But that comes with the territory.
right, and I mean controversy in his personal life. We even talked about it in during our tribute. But there was controversy in pro wrestling as well. I mean, he wasn't a shining figure of positivity there either. But like I said, WCW doesn't become what WCW is without Hulk Hogan. Obviously, NWO, the logo recognized around the world, yada yada. Um, I think people could maybe just be a little bit more respectful online, but who who has decency on Twitter and Reddit at this time?
Oh, the internet got no chill.
Yeah,
It ain't even close. Boy, if you loved Hogan, you might want to stay offline on that day, boy.
yeah. Like, I mean, I want to say keep it respectful, but it's the internet, so they're not. But I mean, just to do what people are doing online, literally hours after he's dead, is I personally just find disgusting. Like,
Out of pocket.
yeah, like you don't need to voice your opinion hours after the man died. We could say let the people remember him the way that they wanted to. Let his family grieve, and maybe in a couple of weeks you could say what the shit that you want to say.
Right.
It doesn't need to be said now. I don't think your opinion's going to change about him in a week or two anyway. So it is what it is. But like I said, complicated individual. I know at the tail end of his life, his family wasn't necessarily talking to him. But if you believe the reports that are being told, he was able to talk to his daughter, Brooke, have a hashing out and burying the hatchet, whatever you want to call it, getting that closure at the end of his life. And hopefully that, if that is true, it helps her as well. Um, so yeah, just a sad end to a controversial figure in life in pro wrestling as well. Um, and yeah, it's funny that we're living in a world where Vince McMahon isn't the head of WWE and Hulk Hogan isn't even here anymore. We're like in a new chapter of pro wrestling, and it's just insane to me that everything that we know is drastically changing. You know what I mean? Do you feel that way
Well,
too?
yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, with Hogan, it just felt like, uh, I'll put it this way: Hogan, I can't. How can I put it? The one that shocked me the most was Warrior because I was just like literally just saw him, so
It
that's
was
what
literally the
threw
next
me
day.
off. Like it was literally the day after, and so, but Hogan, in a sense, it just feels like if you're like within my generation, it just and you're a big wrestling fan, that's like a huge chunk of the childhood gone.
Right.
Because that is I mean, how could I put it? That is a huge not through the needle of wrestling history gone.
Right.
And if it, and I can only imagine when Ric Flair pops out.
Mhm.
Because I mean, when you're thinking about like the last greats, like not even, I mean, all of them are great, but those bigger than life recognizable guys,
Oh yeah.
it hits a little different.
And we've almost lost Ric Flair a couple of times at this point.
If you would have told me Ric Flair would live longer than Hulk Hogan, bro,
Yeah.
Ric Flair was on his deathbed a handful of times. Hulk Hogan, I don't know, it just came out of nowhere.
I don't want to say he came out of nowhere. There has been reports that he has been, having some health issues. But there was conflicting reports. People were saying that it was don't take it for what it's worth. It's lies, yada yada. Um,
Very conflicting because
yeah.
some said it's been, some says it was a sudden, some say he went to the hospital and there was nothing else that they could do. They set up a hospital. So I think it's a bit of both.
And but we were talking about Ozzy Osbourne earlier in the show. He Ozzy Osbourne very much lived his life. He lived life to the fullest. And Hulk Hogan made it to 71, where most pro wrestlers don't make it past 60. And I mean, you can't necessarily say that Hulk Hogan didn't live where fewer men have dared to dream. He did.
Yeah,
He lived a full life. Obviously at the end he had like 25 surgeries in 10 years. Like, I mean, that's
that's a
insane.
lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't imagine that he wasn't in pain. So, you know, bittersweet to say maybe is the best word to say it. If he's not suffering, if he's not in pain, I'm happy that, he's not anymore. He lived a full life. He made it to 71. He got some closure with his daughter. And he is the greatest he is one of the greatest and most influential wrestlers of all time. So, yeah, I think that's where we'll end it. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Hulk Hogan's family and friends. Now, I think we should take a quick word from our sponsors and then get into the news.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.